This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on this Wednesday morning, ready to rock and roll. Tim Bergstrasser, Dragon men's basketball coach, will join us in about a half hour. Want to get back to what we talked about to start the show on the ongoing situation in West Fargo, now concerning former softball and girls hockey head coach Pat Johnson, who resigned late last week after he was told of an investigation during a meeting with the West Fargo School District. He opted to resign. According to West Fargo Public Schools, the high school activities directors are made aware of concerns from student athletes on the West Fargo United girls hockey team regarding head coach Pat Johnson. Activities leadership met with Coach Johnson last Wednesday, February 5th, to inform him that an internal investigation was being opened based on these concerns. Coach Johnson chose to submit his letter of resignation from both hockey and softball coaching positions during that meeting. On Friday, I received an email that was signed by some 20-plus former West Fargo softball and hockey players in support of Coach Johnson, ranging in over the last 20, 25 years that he's coached. And the support has blown up here over the last couple days. And I wanted to get this side, because right now we only got one side talking on this. And I'm hopeful there'll be another side to speak on this. But we'll welcome onto the show Lauren Diemert, former West Fargo softball standout, played for the Packers from 2016 to 2019. I covered Lauren when I was still doing the sports every night for those dynamite West Fargo teams. I appreciate you doing this. I want to start first on the idea of the letter. How did that come about, and where did that really manifest itself?
I think it kind of started when we first heard the news, we were all shocked. Obviously, none of us saw it coming. And I think every single one of us right away, one of our first thoughts was, what can we do to help show our support for Pat, let him know like how much he's impacted our lives. So I think one of the first things that kind of came about was this letter. So when I got reached out to Friday evening asking, hey, would you be willing to write something in this letter? Would you be willing to sign it? I think I didn't even have to think about it. My immediate thought was yes. Like, I want to help just show Coach Pat that we're all here for him and that he has left a very lasting impact on all of us. So he deserves to know all of that. I think he knows already, but just having some of that even extra support.
Lauren, I covered your teams, not just your teams, but obviously ones prior and past. West Fargo softball, certainly, girls hockey as well, I think had the reputation of the big bad wolf. And that, I don't know if Pat built into that or just because you guys won all the time, that you guys were the enemy, or you guys were the giants. How did you handle that? How did he build into that as well, knowing full well you guys were basically hated anytime you played?
I mean, he did a very good job. His thing was, we can only control what we can control. We can't control what others are thinking about us or how they feel. I mean, his goal was to build championship teams, and obviously he did a fantastic job doing that. So his main thing was, we need to focus on ourselves and focus on what we can do to win. So whenever we did get into some of those games, we had to kind of just block out all of the noise, and it was just us and our team on that field playing together, playing for Pat. So he did a very good job of helping us kind of navigate that, where it never really came into play because he prepared us in every practice that we had.
I know there's a generation of girls that grew up wanting to play Packer softball or hockey. I know you were one of them. When you were a young player coming up, though, was it difficult knowing how he's not an easy coach to play for? I know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you always think that. It's always, especially when you get to be a freshman and you're having those tryouts, you're like, okay, my goal, everyone's goal is going to be to make varsity, but it helps. He was always around during our middle school practices and games. Like, we knew who he was, like we've seen him coach, but I think that's the type of coach that I knew I wanted to play for. So it kind of helped drive me even more, that he helped prepare us even at that young age before he truly was our coach, which helped. But even from a young age, I was like, yeah, that's the kind of coach I want to play for, because he holds you to a higher standard, but that helps you succeed, and he holds himself to a high standard too.
Was it tough, Lauren? Were there times where like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this?
No, that thought never crossed my mind when I was playing. I mean, obviously, every coach is going to be tough on you at some points, but that's what a good coach does. They're tough on you to help build you up, help get that confidence in you. And he was the coach that he would forget about it the next play. It was never held over your head. He expected a lot from us, but we expected it from him also. So it's not like it was ever one-sided.
This to come out, you've had a ton of former players to voice their support. What has the conversation been like among your either former teammates on what has gone down over the last few days?
I think we're all just kind of talking and trying to show our support any way we can. I know I reached out to a couple people, and we just, every time we talk about it, we're like, we just want him to know that we support him and that we're grateful to have had him as a coach. And I mean, even though we graduated, our relationships with him have not stopped. Like, he continues to reach out to us. He didn't stop talking or caring about us just because we graduated and no longer play for his program.
How difficult is this, and you can only guess, I know this because you're not there, for the players that are still playing? I mean, they play a hockey game tonight. Just there's only a few games left in the season. That this swirling around, that's I can't even imagine that.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure it's difficult, and you're still in hockey season. I mean, softball season is right around the corner also, but I think Pat also he's prepared everyone that he's ever coached, and I'm sure he's prepared these players too. Like, he's built that confidence in every single one of his players that they can still succeed and that they're going to find a way.
Was there ever a time, Lauren, where he said something that either you felt was maybe too, not aggressive isn't the right word, but like I understand, too intense? Did you ever feel? Because I've seen him, I've covered it, I know his style of coaching, and in 2025, maybe that's not appreciated anymore. Did you ever feel that way?
No, I never once felt that way. I mean, I've always said he's probably like the coach that I wish I could play for forever, just because he he knew what he was doing. He knew his stuff, whether it be hockey or softball. He prepared us for any situation. He prepared all of us for the outside world. Like, we wouldn't probably have been as ready after graduation if it wasn't for playing on his team.
Do you feel like he got the best out of you because of what his coaching style was?
Yes, he got the best out of all of us every day. I mean, you're not always going to be able to give your best. You're not always going to be 100% each and every day, but he found a way. He pulled it out of us. You see it with the success that his teams have had. Like, he found a way to get his best with every team. Even if we weren't the most talented team in the state that year, he found a way to get us playing together, playing as a team, to get the best results at the end that he could.
In this day and age, I mean, it's not that long ago you were playing. It's hard now, I think, for some parents that want to either see their kids play more or how want a coach to pro. You've been in the game. What is the tightrope to walk for coaches now, where they want to get the best out of said player or players, but also make sure that it's respectful? I mean, how difficult is that tightrope to walk nowadays?
I mean, I'm sure it's difficult. I saw Pat. I mean, I think Pat always handled it very well. You have a team of 15 players, only 9 can be on a field at a time.
Yeah.
Or you think of hockey, not everyone can be on the ice at once. So I'm sure it's difficult. I mean, it's never easy with anything. You're not always everyone has different opinions, and obviously everyone can have their own opinion.
Let me ask you this couple things before I let you go. What do you think we don't know about Pat Johnson? I see it. I was never in a locker room. You were, or never in a dugout. What do we not know that has maybe not been talked about enough since this came out a few days ago?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not even sure. It's been a while since I've been there. For us and all of our former players, all we've ever really been able to say is how much he's meant to us and how supportive he's been. Like, he's always cared about us more than just athletes. And I think that's huge as a coach, and huge that he cares even after we graduated. Like, he has all these other players coming up, but I graduated in 2019 and I still talk to him on a regular basis. I'm helping him with his summer program and all that stuff. So he doesn't just kind of forget about you after you graduate.
How do you think this? I don't know. I can't ask you how it gets resolved, but how do we get to a point where this sort of thing doesn't happen again? Where we don't, I don't know if overreact's the right word, or we get to a spot where at least people can be heard without it jumping to somebody having to step down.
Right. Yeah. That's so hard. I mean, I don't know enough these days,
Yeah.
especially. And like I said before, I mean, everyone has an opinion, and that's not something that's ever going to change. Like, you can't control everyone's opinions, and everyone deserves to have their own. But I think when stuff like this happens, you just need to let people know, like, you're here for them. You support them, and just let them know the impact that they have had on your life.
Last thing for you, the support that how this was so organic. What you guys did, has this surprised you? The amount of feedback you're doing an interview like this, to this, for all of the that signed it, is this kind of blown you away?
Yeah, I think I was shocked at how fast everything kind of happened. I mean, the letter kind of started on Friday, and it's Tuesday, so it hasn't been that long. But
Yeah.
when someone like Pat, who's been coaching for 30 plus years, he's had a lot of athletes, he's touched a lot of people, not just that he's coached, but in the community in general. So I think it's just really cool to see all of us kind of coming back together to show him that support, even if it is happening fast. But it's the least we can do for him, so he knows that he has people that are out there supporting him, and we just want him to know that his legacy truly is forever.
Lauren, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this morning. I appreciate it, and we'll see what happens. Thanks again for coming on this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Lauren Diemert, former West Fargo softball standout, graduated in 2019, played for Pat Johnson, and appreciate her time. And I already got a couple of emails on this, and I want to read a couple. Make sure I got the right button pushed here on this topic, because immediately it goes, well, Dom, you're going to have one of the players on. Aren't you obligated to have the other side? The other side has certainly been extended an invite. That's been radio silence there. I'd love to hear from Pat. I don't believe he's going to speak on it. I've known Pat since I've got here. Pat was a legend in West Fargo. So there are a few coaches probably I've interviewed more than him, because there was a time when we knew that hockey was coming about, or softball season, especially when we got to tournament time, that we were going to talk to Pat. And I had Lauren on, not to give a rah-rah speech or anything of that. I think it's important that you hear from that side. I understand, and I started the show with it as well. I understand the way you can talk to an athlete or coach an athlete, or what you can say, is completely different even from when she graduated. That was 6 years ago. I get that. I certainly know it's different from 15 years ago. And if it was something that was said that was misinterpreted, or it was a comment over the line, then something had to say. I'll share one other message I got. I'm not going to say who sent this to me, but I think this tells you where we're at right now. I've had one losing season in 25 years. Parents tried to run me out this season. Good coaches can't coach. And I'm not going to be, a sounding board or an echo chamber for every high school coach out there. That's not my job. But I will say I've covered enough of these where you see really good coaches that either struggle or have a dispute over playing time, or something that was said that was not well received or not taken the right way, that blow up and coach is gone because mom and dad didn't like it. And again, I don't have enough information to say that's what happened here. I can tell you on certain instances with certain coaches that I know that resigned, that's exactly what happened. That this player wasn't playing enough, or they didn't like how this offense was being run, or why the hell is my kid not playing and this one is? You go and complain to the athletic director, or you go and complain to the principal or the superintendent, and the next thing you know, the coach is out. I don't know what happened on this one. And I will emphasize that again. I have a microphone here in front of me. It's a powerful device. I don't know are the three worst words you can say when trying to formulate an opinion on anything. I think hopefully we understand that in this country in 2025. So to sit here and say definitively what happened, I can't. I don't. And until we have that, judgment has to probably go unresolved. And nobody likes that because it leads to more rumor or innuendo. If someone was spoken to disrespectfully, then that needs to be dealt with. If something inappropriate happened, that certainly needs to happen. The only thing I would say on that is the man is still teaching. So if there was something inappropriate, I don't believe that would still be going on. So then that leads to, again, deductive reasoning. If it's not going to be that, then we're going to go down the angle probably we were just talking about. Again, you don't know. More information on the situation, though, that Johnson's resignation will not be made available to the public until sometime this week as district officials continue the investigation. That's from the Forum story that came out on Friday night in relation to the players putting that letter together. This is from Public Relations Director Heather Lease, who wrote to the Forum Thursday. The initial complaint was made verbally. The context of that complaint will be included in the investigation documents, which cannot be released until the investigation has been completed. I would anticipate that to be sometime next week. The district received the complaints last week before meeting with Pat Johnson. And everyone, you heard Lauren say, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I'd like to know, obviously, I think everybody would on this, to have the conclusion of said investigation, what happened, what went down, and then we can make some definitive statements about it. But it doesn't seem anything improper, or else the man's job would not still be there teaching. One can probably surmise that. Feel free, email, texts are coming in on it. I appreciate that, and we'll continue to follow this story until we get a resolution on it. We're overdue for a break. We'll take one now. We heard a mention for the Twins. We got some specifics on their here's another story that never ends. Their TV situation, because you can go buy Twins TV today if you want it. We'll give you some of the info on that when Hot Mike returns. Tuesday Morning Edition rolls on. We're back after this.